Alright, so we will be doing a little bit of a comparison between Nintendo Switch 2 and the Switch OLED. Now, this might obviously be obvious for most people, but obviously this guy right here is more stronger than that guy. But there's a lot of benefits you can have with this guy, like modding it. But when it comes to this guy, you can't, or at least not yet. But I'm going to go through some of the most normal changes that they've done. Most of the cool changes, some of the most why changes. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so right here are the Joy-Cons for each one. So yeah, right here we have the Joy-Con Blue. Now this is for the Nintendo Switch 2, as you can probably tell by the way that this looks. Now the difference between the Joy-Con Blue for the Switch 2 and the Switch 1, well, they had different texture when you hold them. So when you hold this one, you have like a little matte texture when you put your fingers on it. Whereas, well, I have a little skin on it, but if I glide through the sides here, you have like a little plasticky feel, which is pretty cool. And there's a little bit of changes. The first thing is first for the joystick. So this one's a little bit beaten up from me using it. But when you'll notice when you glide it around, you'll notice it's really damn smooth. Whereas this guy, not really. And you might have like a little bit of like a uncomfortable spin with it. You know how it is? So yeah. You'll also notice at the top, the ZL and R button is a little bit extended for when using mouse mode. Obviously that isn't the case for this one. Obviously, there's no mouse mode. And then the next thing is the middle. So this bit right here, well, we have the SL and SR buttons. They are bigger, as you can see by looking at that. The LED has moved to the top, same how this one's right here. The sync button is in the same spot still. The little mouse sensor thing there, and then there's the magnetic thing. Then it's pretty much the same, except there's the sync, the LED, the SL and SL buttons, which is smaller, and the little slider thing, which is the rail. And that's pretty much the same with the right one. If we look at the top, there's the right one. Pretty much the same as what you saw from this side. However, this one has the infamous C button, which no one really uses unless you have Nintendo Switch Online now. But yeah, pretty much the same. So yeah. And yeah. Now tell me which one you think is satisfying. Switch 2 or Switch 1. Let me know. Okay, so the next thing right here is the tablet screens. Now, you can tell by how you can notice the difference in size just by looking at it. I mean, one is clearly bigger than the other one, but hey, they're average. So what we will notice is that this one is an LCD screen with HDR, but this guy has OLED. This guy right here has OLED. So because of that, I would kind of prefer OLED. Now, LCD is fine, especially with HDR. But when you're kind of noticing the difference between the two, it's kind of not that great. So, what am I talking about? Well, OLED screens will make the colors more brighter. It makes them more vibrant. This guy, however, does not do that. However, with HDR, it kind of does. So, with the difference, I find that I prefer this one screen-wise, but this one performance-wise, because they both have different specs. This one has been used by NVIDIA, and this one's been used by a completely different thing. I don't think it is NVIDIA. So this one partnered up with NVIDIA, and this one partnered up with someone else. So yeah. Now, the difference between the two is not really the bottom size, however, I will show you. You might notice as well that this side has that, and this guy has that. Pretty much the same, except I believe this one has more speakers. And then at the top, if I just flip them both around, you'll notice that it has the game cartridge slot, headphone jack, the USB at the top, more audio, or maybe ventilation. power on and the volume down and thing. And it's pretty much the same, except you're missing the AC charging thing. So yeah, pretty similar. And the only difference is, like, you'll notice that this little thing right here has like a little latch, if my camera would like to focus. But basically, there's like this little latch that you grab for the game cartridge slot on the OLED. Same thing with the thing. But you'll notice as well with this one is that it kind of looks kind of worse. The way that it looks, like you look like you can't do that, except it's on the back. And you can just technically just like grab it from the back, and then there you go. What game do I have in there? Nice. So yeah, pretty cool. And it's honestly insane on how much a difference this can be when it comes to Nintendo. But you know, the only thing I find different is that you don't technically own this, where you technically own that. Onto the home menu sounds. Okay, so the first home menu sound will be for the Nintendo Switch 2. That's my friend code, by the way, if you want to add me. Hee. Okay, so that's the Switch 1 sounds, and this is obviously when you open up a game, and then this is when you go home. So yeah, pretty cool. And then finally, this is how they connect, noise-wise. In. There you go. So yeah, on to Nintendo Switch OLED. Okay. There you go. And then when you apply them onto your Switch, so yeah, those are the two differences. On to pretty much the last bit, the docks and the Joy-Con grip. So, right here, this is the Nintendo Switch 2, as you can tell from the little logo. This is how it looks. This is the normal one that comes with the Nintendo Switch 2 from that box over there. And because of that, this is how it looks. So, obviously with here, you have the little magnets with both sides as well. You have like a little minus thing here, and then it's the same with the red Joy-Con. Right here, this is the Switch. This is broken Joy-Con if you want to get charged in Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons with it. However, you slide them in instead, and it has like a little clear back, similar to the Switch 2 version of this one. And the Switch 2 version of this one has the back ones, the GL and GR. So yeah, pretty much not different, except it does this shit. There you go. And then with this one, it kind of just does the completely opposite. But yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so now finally will be the dock of docks. So right here, this one supports, now this is the Switch 1 dock, and the OLED supports the Switch 1. However, you're missing the LAN, mainly you can connect to your internet wired, making faster internet speeds. Now the downside of the dock and the Nintendo Switch in general for the OLED is that they have slower download times. Decent though, and then it's the same with this one, however they're faster. And obviously you have LAN support, and there's an inbuilt fan in here. Now, there's not an inbuilt fan to keep the Switch cool. It's an inbuilt fan to keep the dock cool. The reason why is because it's trying to do 4K. So yeah, I do think it can also cool down the Switch too, but I'm not 100% from what I know. I think it's just used to cool down the dock when it's trying to do 4K. And then the final thing is this. No sound. Yeah. So yeah, that's the down. This is the difference between the Nintendo Switch 2 and the OLED at the same time. I would have done the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, but I don't have the Switch 2 Pro controller, mainly because I don't need a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, especially when I have this guy. This guy does his job decently well anyways. I've had this guy for pretty much the same size I had that thing. So, yeah. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, smash like, subscribe to the button below, and I shall see you all next time. Bye, everyone.